So we've been talking about font and font shorthand. We saw the font shorthand is shorthand for all these other ones right here. Font style, variant, weight, size, height, family. So font family is the family name, specific name like Roboto, and then the generic name like serif, sans serif, monospace, cursive, or fantasy. And then font size, and we looked at the different length measurements, mrim, percentage, pixels. And the mrim and percentage are relative. Which one's relative to the root, m or rim? Rim, because it's root element, right? And m is relative to its parent, whatever the parent size is, some multiple of that. And percentage is relative to the parent also. And so you can see that here. Here we have m is relative to the parent. Rim is to the root, right? And percentage is relative to the parent. Then we have font weight and font style properties, and we saw those: normal, bold, lighter, bolder, or the 1 through 900 numbers. And font style, normal, italic, oblique. And then there's font variant and text transform. So font variant is like small caps, but then there's also this property text transform, which could do uppercase, lowercase, and capitalize. And so text transform isn't a font property. And if we go look at text transform on MDN, right, we see it's just text transform is a CSS property. Here's capitalize and uppercase. Capitalizes looks like the first word, right? First letter of each word. Uppercase, lowercase, none, versus term is capitalized there, and full width, whatever that is. So that's kind of interesting, right? You have text transform, which isn't, all these other ones have been prefixed by font, but text transform is its own. And then you have the line height property, which we saw, and letter spacing. So we have letter spacing, word spacing, and color. So we're going to take a look at letter spacing here. So here's letter spacing, normal, 0.2 rem, 1 pixel, -1 pixel, right? So you could, I wonder if we could change these. That's cool. You could write the code right there. That's neat. It's a new feature. So it's letter spacing and word spacing. So the space between words. See the difference? Normal, space between words. Make that 3 rem. A lot of space between words, 1 rem. No space between words. And color. So color isn't prefixed with font. So those are all things that influence your font: letter spacing, word spacing, color, text transform, and then all of the other font properties. Then we looked at Google Fonts, and then we have text align and also text shadow. So let's look at text align. Left, right, center, justify. Okay, text align. And we have text shadow. So here's text shadow. 1 pix, 1 pix, 2 pix, pink. So those shadows are offset X, offset Y, blur radius, and color. So how much do we come over left and right? That's the X offset. How much do we come over up and down? That's the Y offset. How much do we blur, fuzzy it? That's the blur radius, and then what's the color? And so right here, like, you know, if I say come over a lot X on the X, you can see that kind of moved over. And let's make this black. Let's make it pink. Anyhow, it's kind of hard to see. But, you know, I moved a lot over. Let's go just 2 or 3 or 4 I'm moving over to the right. Do you see that? I'm moving over to the right. And if I went negative, it'd move the other way. See, it moved over the other way. And the blur radius would be like 20 pixels, really fuzzed it out. 1 pixel, not so fuzzed out. So you can see this if it gets really big. You can see this more clearly. And we have text shadow. And so it could be 4 pixels over, 10 pixels down, blur 20 pixels, color black. We'll do gray. No, we'll do black. No, we'll do gray. Gray. Like gray. And then reveal that in Finder. Let's try a little darker. So there's a lot of blur on that. I take away some of that blur, right? It got really crisp. And it's pretty far down. I can move it up. I can drop it down a little bit more. I can move it over to the right. I can blur it out. Interesting, right? So that's text shadow. And let's close all that. And text decoration. So none, underline, overline, line through. So it's another thing we could do with text. So we had the text align, text shadow, and then we have text decoration. So notice we went through font, all the font stuff, and then we hit text transform, and letter spacing, word spacing, and color. And then text align, text shadow, text decoration. So there's like font stuff and text stuff. Text stuff, okay? So we have text decoration, none, underline, overline, line through. And then in addition to line through, there's text declaration line, text declaration color, and text decoration style. So I guess we could go take a look at those examples here. So here's none, and here's underline, and here's overline, and line through, and underline, overline, and underline, line through. Okay, text decoration. And then we have text decoration color. So I'm changing the color of that line. It's kind of cool. And then we have text decoration style. Bold, double, dotted, dashed, wavy. So a good thing to do, a good exercise to do, would maybe just list all of these out on a sheet of paper. And I actually have done that for you. And then you have like, oh, which ones do I need to style my fonts? And kind of post that on your wall next to where you work. There's also delete. So text decoration line through. The del element represents a range of text that's been deleted. And they don't have an example here. This has been deleted. See, it has, there it is, it has a line through it. So it's often formatted with a line through it, the del element. So which, you know, if you're deleting text or want to show it's deleted, you might use that element. And we also have the strike through element instead of text decoration line through or whatever, right? Text declaration line through. You might use del, or you might use the S element to show that something's been stricken. Renders text with a strike through. Or line through it. Use the S element to represent things that are no longer relevant or no longer accurate. But if you still want it on the page, right, you do that. So del and S are two elements that you'd think about if you're putting line through text. And then we have the text indent property. So here's indentation. So no indent, indentation, negative indentation, text indent. And then we have a whole bunch of hands-on exercises, and then here's the review where you have all the stuff together. So it's all about formatting text. We learned about serif versus sans serif fonts, and we've learned about Google Fonts, and then striking text declaration line through, or use the HTML elements del or S. We've learned about font sizes, rem, pixel, em, percentage, right? You could also do viewport width or height, but those are more specialized. We've learned about length data type and color data type. And all else HTML tags we've learned so far. We'll look at those in a second. And so this is kind of like a little bit of a review. HTML tag attributes, CSS properties we've learned so far. And I'm wanting, okay, here are all the CSS properties. Cool. So let's look through this list, and we'll do that in the next video. But we'll just look through this list and do a little bit of review and see if we've missed anything.